Welcome to the 3 Knockdown Rule. Starring Mario Lopez and Steve Kim. Presented by Hustler Casino.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 3 Knockdown Rule is in effect, brought to you by Hustler Casino. I'm Steve Kim, and I'm joined by Mario Way Out Loud Lopez.
Hey, more on that later. Let's not forget about that. Also, quick shout out to Smokin' Tim Frazier and
Tino on the edits, the bout sheet for this show. It's the final crescendo. We preview Beterbiev Bivol 2, fight review, fight preview, Ask Mario, and lots of news and notes. But first, we just want to let you know this podcast is sponsored by Hustler Casino. Open 24/7 and located just 15 minutes from downtown LA. If you love poker, then head over to Hustler Casino for the new Cash is King poker cash drawings happening every Monday. They're giving away a whopping $1,000 cash every other hour from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Play at Hustler Casino, located just 15 minutes from downtown LA, if you want to win big.
Round 1.
All right, round number 1, Saturday afternoon. It's Riyadh season once again from Saudi Arabia on payperview.com. For the light heavyweight championship of the world, it is the rematch, Artur Beterbiev against Dmitry Bivol, headlining what is a stacked card. Mario, let's go back to the afternoon of October 12th. We watched this fight together at Hustler Casino. What do you recall most about this initial matchup?
Well, I was thrilled that it finally took place because we had a couple hiccups getting to that point. And I was happy to see two of the best fighters pound for pound, not just in the weight class. We're talking pound for pound. Overall, finally fight. And I thought it was a great fight. You saw guys who are complete world-class individuals, very well prepared from different ends of the spectrum stylistically. Close rounds, but I saw Beterbiev landing the more punishing blows, slowly start to take over, and finishing strong. So I had Beterbiev winning the fight. I believe you did too. And so did a lot of the people that we were watching the fights with. And I really like Bivol. I like both guys as fighters and individuals, the way they carry themselves. I think they're class acts. But I thought it was a very close fight that Beterbiev did edge out. It stopped his knockout streak. And going into this, will that momentum continue? Will he feel even more confident? Will he regain a new knockout streak? Will Bivol feel that he has to maybe stand there and trade a little bit more to try to win these rounds in the judges' eyes? And will that be a detriment to him? It's going to be interesting to see. I think we're actually going to get a little bit more of an action-packed fight, theoretically, because I think Bivol, even though he's known as a darter in and out, letting his hands go, he showed no fear in that fight. I thought he was a very confident fighter. So I think we're going to actually have a more fun fight with a little bit more action. But I got to tell you, unless Beterbiev gets a little old overnight, I'm still leaning towards Artur in this fight. He is 40. Could happen, but he lives a very clean lifestyle, Spartan lifestyle. Bivol's a very smart fighter, individual. Maybe he made the adjustment, so I'm just as excited to see it again.
Going back to the scorecards, October 12th, 115, 113, 116, 112, 114, 114. So around here, around there, you could have had a draw. Could have been a split decision the other way.
115, 113.
So did I. I thought after 9 rounds that Bivol may have had a slight lead. After 10, I said, this is getting close. And look, I'm a little bit more of a Bivol guy. You know me. But I did not get the sense that he had a strong finishing kick in the last 6 minutes. Now, look, I've talked to a lot of people that were there. They thought Bivol won. But again, this was a very tight contest. My question is this, and I agree with you. Dmitry Bivol in this particular fight may have to dig in his heels a little bit and do the Jaime Escalante, stand and deliver in the pocket. Here's the problem. You are now playing with a little bit of fire, are you not, against that human wrecking ball?
You're playing with an inferno, not just a little bit of fire. That we're talking about the heaviest hands in the sport right there. again, I think it's going to be a great fight. And look, he's quick enough to counter and maybe get his punches off. We have to remember Beterbiev, what it is, 40 now, right?
Yes.
He is 40, so, he's no spring chicken. But again, I don't know if he's lost too many miles off of his fastball. So I expect another competitive, close fight.
Keep this in mind. Artur Beterbiev has not had this much of a turnaround from one fight to another in a while. He's generally been a once-a-year guy. There's always that yearly cancellation. Then it takes about 9, 10, 11, 12 months. This is only about 4 or 5.
Which I think bodes well for him. He'll be, theoretically, even sharper. I haven't heard of any injuries. So he should continue the momentum.
As I recall what happened in the first fight, Bivol at times boxed very well, and that's what he does. But he never was able to land that shot that had Beterbiev on his heels against his will.
He never stopped coming forward.
It's going to be incumbent upon Bivol, and again, this comes with risk. You're going to have to smack him hard enough where you actually buzz him for at least a split second. Because Beterbiev closes in on you, he suffocates you, he takes away your space. And again, close fight, but I thought Bivol kind of staggered towards the finish while Beterbiev had the better one. I do think the judges got it right. I think, once again, this should be another very close competitive fight. But gun to head, I would say Beterbiev once again ekes out a very close competitive fight. Also on this card, and this lineup is more stacked with heavy hitters than the 27 Yankees.
This is a great card.
Unbelievable. IBF heavyweight title. Daniel Dubois takes on the resurgent Joseph Parker. I got Parker. I think his experience and his boxing.
Wow.
And unlike some of the past opponents, Parker is going to have a game plan. He's got the superior footwork and the experience. There's going to be dangerous moments. I think he pulls, I don't know if it's an upset. I think he captures the decision.
He is a smart fighter, and I feel he is going in with a lot of confidence. But I think Dubois is going in with a lot of confidence and a lot of momentum right now.
Yeah.
And he's got some heavy hands. So I actually think it's more of a pick-em fight, to be honest. I think it's a really close fight. Whoever initiates a little bit more of the action gets off and sets the tone more. So again, coin flip on that one, and I really hope that's the co-main, correct?
Yes.
So that'll be good.
In my view, the winner of this fight, I believe, becomes the clear number one contender to face Alexander Usyk in what will be his next fight. Mario, a fight that I know we have great interest in. Carlos Adames defends his WBC middleweight title against a guy that's been in this seat right here, Hamza Shiraz, and our good friend Ricky Funes.
Right.
Mario, I think there is danger early because Hamza's one of those big, tall, long kids that has to squeeze himself down to 160. Early on, be very careful. I think he's got to box his way into punching, and I think that ring activity and ring rust, that favors Hamza Shiraz. He had 3 fights last year. Carlos Adames fought once last year in June. I get the sense that Hamza Shiraz is a guy with the momentum. I believe he walks away with the WBC middleweight title.
I agree. And what a gentleman. I really like this kid. Solid fighter, and obviously we really like Funes. But I think he's earned this spot. He's improved, or he's looked like he's improved in every fight. I think he's going to be well prepared for the moment. But I do agree it is dangerous early on. Once he gets settled and he's able to gauge that distance and he gets into some sort of rhythm, then I think he's able to kind of maybe start putting the rounds together. And I do see him getting his hand raised at the end. I don't know how much longer he can make that weight. I'm stunned because when you stand next to the guy, he's huge.
He's 2-3 inches taller than I am, and I'm about 6'2".
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So,
how does he make that? It's wild.
Yeah, and I think they did a good thing here. They spent about 6 weeks out at Van Nuys at 10 Goose Boxing, and then I believe the day of January 31st, they've been out there in the Middle East for a while.
Yeah.
Carlos Adames had a couple of issues getting into the country. I believe he's all situated now. But you take a look at the frame, the size, and the fact that Shiraz himself is just a stick of dynamite. I believe that he will have enough firepower once he gets his feet underneath him to win this title.
Another great fight.
And Mario, maybe the best fight of the night.
Yes.
Virgil Ortiz takes on Israel Madrimov for the WBC interim junior middleweight title.
Let me tell you something.
Oh, boy.
I think you're right. This is the one I'm most intrigued by and interested to see. I'm going to be sitting up in my chair right here. This is a serious fight, and then whoever's victorious in this fight, I think is the man in this division. I think both those guys are going to have a hard time finding each other, and I think their styles play to each other for what should be fireworks. Assuming Ortiz has no problems with his weight and everything is good. He always comes prepared. And Madrimov, we know, is a consummate professional. I think this is another high caliber, great fight. What a card!
If you're Israel Madrimov, and I'm Joel Diaz, and our good friend Vadim Kornilov, they've been on the short end of the stick of a lot of close decisions. They're pretty upset about what's been going on the last several years. They can't catch a break. You have to impress upon Madrimov. You better throw punches. The one thing about Madrimov that I love, athletic. He's got great dexterity. He's like a gymnast in there. He does some of the trickiest push-ups I've ever seen. But when it comes to this fight, you have to match firepower with firepower. Because what does Virgil Ortiz do? He comes right down the middle with punches, right?
Two-fisted attack.
Yes. So you better match him. And you're the natural junior middleweight. Now, you are more elusive. But if you're just going to work on being elusive and throwing a bunch of feints, like I thought the Crawford fight was there to be won, except he put it on layaway in the late rounds.
Right. I think if he would go back and do it again, I think he would pull the trigger a lot more with combinations and being more aggressive. And let's see if he... Now, Crawford, obviously very different style from Ortiz, so maybe he was trying to counterpunch the counterpuncher right there. But with Ortiz, that's coming. So his sort of wait and see kind of counterpunching might be to his benefit. I'm curious to see the strategy he takes.
Keep this in mind. Israel Madrimov is a faster, quicker guy than Sergey Boachuk. I think it opened a lot of eyes that Boachuk was able to touch Ortiz as much as he did.
But Boachuk is much more active,
yes.
Much more offensive minded. He lets his hands go. You're exactly right.
So this will be very interesting. We're going to see if Vadim Kornilov
that's a great fight.
And our good friend Alik Frolov can catch a break. This fight on a lot of other cards would be the main event.
Do a lot of these fights. This is a great card.
Also on this card for the WBO interim light heavyweight title, Joshua Buatsi takes on Callum Smith. In heavyweight action, Zhilei Zhang takes on Agit Kabayel, and also Shakur Stevenson is on the card against Floyd Schofield. We'll talk about that fight a little bit later. We come back. More of the 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by Hustler Casino.
Catch it streaming live right on YouTube.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
$1.2 million.
And I'm losing in this fucking game. What the fuck?
There's a 400K flip. If I win by the way, you get 10 grand.
Compromise fucking straddle!
For my fans!
Why? I read it twice!
Wow. All in a call.
I'm not fucking leaving!
Raise it up.
And we're back on the 3 Knockdown Rule. Hey, are you looking to get involved with 3 Knockdown Rule and sponsor our show? We have some spots available. Please email info@boxbid.io. Once again, that's info@boxbid.io. Boxbid is an online platform that helps professional boxers connect with their fans by providing exclusive Fight Week merchandise, memorabilia, and sponsorships. You can even buy a shout-out on Boxbid. Boxbid.io handles our sponsorships, and we are proudly working with Boxbid.io.
Review preview.
All right, taking a look at some of the action from this past Friday and Saturday. Friday night from the MSG Theater, brought to you by Top Rank, televised on ESPN, and the new WBO lightweight champion of the world, Keyshawn Davis, with the 4th round stoppage over Dennis Baranchik. Mario, I thought this had the feel of a coronation. Look, Baranchik is a tough, awkward guy, but I don't think he had much of a shot. Davis, to me, is perhaps one of the very best young fighters in the sport. I think he's got his focus back. He looks to be a very tough out at 135.
Very, very tough out. He seems to be peaking at just the right time. I didn't appreciate all the antics and crazy stuff leading up to it.
Fruitgate.
Yeah, what was that about? It was unnecessary. But with that said, Keyshawn's the real deal. And he can mix it up with any of the champs right now.
Ring Magazine right now at 135, their rankings. They don't have a champion, but number 1 is Tank. Number 2 is Loma, who may be retired. Number 3 is Shakur. Number 4 is Zepeda. And number 5 is Davis. When you look at Davis, that size, he almost looks like a welterweight in there, does he not?
Yes, absolutely. That you rattle off those names, a lot of fun potential matchups if they would fight each other.
Yes, and he's already made it clear. Shakur and him are like brothers, so that's not going to happen. Davis is a very, very technically sound, athletic boxer who can really, really punch. Now, he's only 23 years old, and I think he only has 13 fights underneath him. If you want to be a star, I don't think he can fall into the habit of just being a twice-a-year fighter right now. If I'm Top Rank and I'm Davis's management, I get together and I say 3 more fights this year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, hopefully with the Turkey influence now, there's going to be a little bit more incentive because the paydays will be a little fatter, and these guys are going to want to get paid, and they're going to look forward to the big fight that's looming, hopefully later on. A lot of potential showdowns, especially in that division.
And Mario, you talk about guys bursting at the seams. One of the ways you help a guy like that, keep him active.
Yeah, exactly.
The worst thing that could happen to Keyshawn Davis is say, all right, see you in October, November. That's how guys grow out of weight classes in their mid-20s.
Right.
But Keyshawn Davis has now arrived. Also on this card, junior middleweight contender, Xander Zayas with the 9th-round stoppage over Slava Smoler. He is now 21-0. He's 22 years old. Mario, I have a question. Does he look like a guy that's really ready to take on the Crawfords, the Madramovs, the Virgil Ortizes, the Sergey Bowachuks, and the Funduras of the world?
Not at the moment. And it's surprising because when you first saw him, I was like, wow, what a blue chip prospect.
At 17.
He looks very promising. And I don't know if he seems like he's stagnated a little bit. And I don't know if that's the environment around him. Maybe his heart's not in it as much anymore. But hey, if you want to see...
Well, it's not the focus. This is not going to be Felix Verdejo. He's a hardworking guy that really cares.
Okay,
here's the issue.
I'm glad about it. Well, then what do you think is the issue?
He has not developed a punch. When I saw him at age 17, I said, okay.
So the man strength hasn't come.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's just what he is. When I kept waiting for about 2-3 years, thinking when he gets his man strength, he's going to hit through people. Here's the reality. Technically sound. He's good fundamentally. He's kind of built like Trinidad, but he hits like Ivan Calderon. Okay, that's a bit of hyperbole, but I don't see a guy that could hit through people. I don't. But he's got a good head on his shoulders. He's very intelligent, and he keeps his nose to the grindstone. But as I'm watching this fight, I'm thinking about the placement. He's probably a lower top 10 54-pounder, but he's number 1 in the WBO. I just say to myself, does Top Rank really pull the trigger with this young man? That remains to be seen.
Because you 154, you see him being competitive against an Ortiz or Madrimov at this moment?
No, not yet.
Not yet. So there's your answer.
But you know a guy that is on the fast track, maybe on the Autobahn, and we've been spotlighting him for at least 2.5, 3 years. Abdullah, the young Butcher Mason, just absolutely crushes Manuel Jaimes in 4. He's 17-0, 15 knockouts. He's only 20 years old. Look, he hit the deck a couple times in his last fight. But most times when I see him, I say to myself, that's an elite level blue chip fighter. How fast do you go with him at 35?
Again, that division is so stacked. I keep him busy.
So do I.
But I take my time to before he faces that upper echelon, because I think that kid can be special.
My understanding is they're going to place him on a card in Las Vegas in early April against a foe that would be considered a step-up fight. But Abdullah Mason, speed, power, technique, he's got pizzazz. The only thing is he's a little bit like a sports car that doesn't always use his brakes. But everything else, he checks a lot of boxes. I hope he just keeps his mind right. You know who's not keeping his mind right? Jared Anderson. Jared Anderson, how the mighty has fallen.
He don't like to hit the body.
He doesn't like to hit elbows.
He don't like to hit the body because he hits elbows.
Oh my God. Mario.
I've never heard that before.
Here's a young man that a year ago was headlining ESPN shows, was thought to be one of the best young prospects, certainly thought of as the best purebred American heavyweight prospect in years, then decided to make a lot of money against the wishes of Top Rank against Martin Bacoli. And then he went from that to being the second bout of the evening after Nico Ali Walsh. Now, Mario, this is a tough game. It's not for everybody. It takes a special human being to do this. But as I'm watching this, and I'm watching the body language, his facial expression, the way he's reacting in the corner, he got buzzed a couple of times. I'm not saying he should retire. But if you don't want to do this and you've got personal issues, I think it might be time for a leave of absence.
It doesn't seem like his heart was ever in it. to be honest with you. He was an athletic guy, fight a little bit, he makes some money, but he didn't love it. He didn't love the sport. And this is not something that you can do half-ass. You can get hurt in there. You can get killed in there.
He actually said after round 1, man, this guy's tough. I don't want to go the distance. And I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
And Tim Bradley, I thought, said some of the most blunt things after round 2, that he needs to stop whining and get to business.
That's one of the great things about boxing is you get to see these athletes in their most vulnerable moments because you're literally in the corner in between. You don't get to see that in anywhere else.
I thought it was a huge red flag when at age 23, 24, he said, well, by 26, I'm out of here. Again, I get it. It's a tough game, but as Rudy Hernandez says, we are not human as fighters, and he always makes this point. We choose to do this.
Right.
And I think Jared's got to understand, if you don't want to do it, you should choose to walk away.
Otherwise, it could be very dangerous.
Right. Also, Saturday afternoon from Manchester, England on The Zone from the Co-op Live Arena, brought to you by Matchroom Boxing. I guess this could be considered a little bit of an upset given the geography and who actually got his hand raised in a close fight. But your new junior welterweight WBO interim titleist, Arnold Barboza, with a razor-thin split decision in 12 rounds over El Gato Jack Catterall.
Hey, the kid from El Monte did it,
Órale.
man. And I'm really happy for him. Barboza genuinely impressed me, I got to say, because, look, I was underwhelmed against Ramirez and McComb, but he looked very well prepared and ready for the moment. I think he studied Catterall, him and his team. And honestly, I didn't see it coming because I thought Catterall might be a little too much, might outclass him, but that wasn't the case at all. That wasn't the case at all. I thought it was the correct decision. I thought Barboza largely controlled the action. And I thought Catterall was a little limited with his counterpunching and didn't let his hands go.
He wasn't accurate at all.
He wasn't accurate. He didn't throw enough punches. He waited, I think, for that perfect punch, and it just didn't work out for him. And I'm really happy for Barboza because I know he's been wanting this for a long time, and he worked really hard. I had it 115, 113, Barboza, and now he's the mandatory for Teofimo Lopez, which is ironic because Lopez, I believe, didn't want to fight him when they were both together at Top Rank. And now...
Well, it's mandatory now, though.
It's mandatory now. But I thought he deserved it, too, because Barboza, at the end of the day, was the aggressor, and I always lean towards the person initiating the fight being the aggressor. So I had a 115, 113 for Barboza.
And that seems to be the consensus. All three judges in this fight had it 115 to 113. Fortunately for Barboza, two of them had it in his favor. Look, this was not a great fight, very tactical. You could say it was a bit of a staring contest, but I got the sense after the 12th round, Barboza, putting aside the geography, who the house promoter is, and that's Eddie Hearn, that they got it right.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, this was after one of the fights that Teofimo Lopez had after he lost to George Kambosos. And Top Rank on their YouTube series had a scene where Teofimo goes up to Carl Moretti, one of the executives at Top Rank, and he points over at Barboza and goes, "See that bum over there? I'm not fighting him." And Top Rank more than once tried to make that fight. I don't understand this attitude that you're fighting guys like Steve Claggett, no offense. You're fighting guys like Jermaine Ortiz, no offense. Barboza has a better resume than those guys. He has a better record. He's 32-0.
Well, now he has a belt, so there is no...
It's an interim belt, but basically...
Nevertheless.
The new WBO president, Gustavo Olivieri, has made it very clear. You have a certain amount of time now to either defend against Barboza or you shall vacate. So there's a chance that he just could be elevated.
If his new deal that he signed, is his opponent official?
Not yet. Not yet.
So it could potentially be Barboza.
Maybe an Alcatraz.
That'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
That'd be fun, yeah.
So, look, at the end of the day, you're a champion. There are obligations that come with having certain belts and titles. And wrapping it up this past weekend from the Honda Center in Anaheim, California, brought to you by Golden Boy on the Zone. Junior welterweight Oscar Duarte wears down Miguel Madueño in 7. Mario, am I nuts? I think of Oscar Duarte as the modern-day Tono Diaz. Remember Joel Diaz's brother
Yeah.
fought like Shane Mosley,
Yeah,
Omar Weiss, Mickey Ward. Good, solid television fighter.
That's a good comparison right there. It was, and the fight was a fun fight while it lasted. And shout out to Madueño for taking that late notice and coming in. And those guys weren't hard to find each other. Duarte looked well prepared, ready to go. So now he's sort of in the mix.
You know what would be a great fight down the line if boxing was a real sport and you cared about local rivalries? Again, someone brought this up to me. How about Barboza against Duarte? That would be a decent, pretty good little promotion in Southern California.
It would.
Let's see what happens with Teofimo Lopez down the line. All right, we're going to preview this today because next Monday morning from the land of the rising sun in Japan, Bonsai, the WBC bantamweight champion of the world, Junto Nakatani, at 29-0, 22 knockouts, takes on David Cuellar, 28-0, 18 knockouts. Mario, Junto Nakatani just steadily developing as one of the best fighters in the world, pound for pound.
Shout out to our boy Rudy Hernandez.
Oh, now you acknowledge him.
You're stupid. How does this guy have any friends? No, I'm happy for him. And Junto, listen, I'd love, or eventually, we know that one of the Mount Rushmore fights that we talked about earlier in the year that we want to see, Junto and Inoue. That would be a huge, a monster fight, no pun intended. And yeah, it's a Monday, huh?
It's Japan.
It's Japan. Yeah, it's a Monday. So okay, that's interesting. I like that. I'm down for that. So fundamentally sound. I think he looks better every fight out. Rudy has got something special in his hand, so I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Saw him at the New LA Boxing Club about 3 weeks ago. Mario, I've studied a lot of fighters. I have never seen a fighter when they work the heavy bag who works on turning over their knuckles at a certain angle, just time and time again.
It's so important.
It is. And the way he punches through people and his ability to work on the outside, control the distance, but also chop guys up on the inside. It's really a shame that there's no big name bantamweight for him to battle with. The other three guys are from Japan. Nobody knows who they are, and there doesn't seem to be any talk of a unification bout. Spoke to Bob Arum last week, and he said that there's a possibility they're thinking about maybe Junto Nakatani has a fight in the U.S. this year. He's done it twice against Maloney and Angel Acosta. I think that would be good for his Q rating. Moving on to the Ask Mario portion of this program. Here's one from Earth Wheel 1990.
1990, Chubb Rock. Okay, go on.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sign an autograph, you might make a new fan.
Hey, there you go, kid.
Something critical, but this is a valid point. He said, last night I watched the Zone broadcast and the worst mismatch I've seen in years. Joel Irarte versus Daniel Harris. It was actually uncomfortable viewing. Can't the Zone reject the matchup? Refused to broadcast it. The commentators were complicit. Are they obliged to call it out? Teddy Atlas did. Now, Mario,
You were there, right?
I was there, and I made sure to be on time because Irarte's a guy that we like.
Right.
Elite, upper-level prospect. He was the first fight on the main broadcast at about 5:10. When I saw the fight, I'm looking over, and I said, my God, he's fighting Gary Coleman. It looked like he was fighting Emmanuel Lewis. Well,
rest in peace,
I
Gary
mean,
Coleman.
it's just like, look.
You made him even shorter. You said Webster.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Lewis.
He's now 6-0, and I get it. It's still early. In that particular fight, he got nothing out of it.
Right. You're just wasting time at that point.
And I don't know the particulars of it. I'm very good friends with the management team there. That may have been the fifth guy that they got. Maybe no one wants to. Because what's happening is a lot of these big name prospects, the opponents start overpricing themselves.
Right.
Okay, so it's difficult.
Sure.
But you're right. And one of my main complaints about all the networks is I don't think that they have a modern day Lou DiBella, who's like the czar who says that fight, not doing that one.
Right.
Give me something better. And I think that is the problem, that when you have an exclusive output deal, there has to be a guardrail. There has to be someone that's the firewall to protect the consumer, because that fight was kind of embarrassing. It was.
I'm going to assume it was a case of what you just said. Maybe it was the fourth or fifth guy. And
late replacement.
Replacement. Guys outprice themselves. You want to keep them busy.
Yeah.
You know, because better he had some action, I guess, than no action at all. But those kind of guys, you don't want to rush them. But at the same time, you don't want
Yeah.
no-hopers in there as well.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult line, but I do like that at least they're keeping him busy for today by today's standards.
Yeah, and so, like, again, I don't want to be overly critical without knowing all of the details, but it's always a good thing when I can reference Emmanuel Lewis and Gary Coleman on a show. Here's one from Derek Batista. Hey, Steve and Mario, this is a very interesting question. If Floyd Schofield wins on Saturday against Shakur Stevenson, would you consider it a bigger upset than Munguia against Sarase?
I would.
Really?
Yes. You wouldn't?
I don't know.
You can't even touch Shakur.
I don't know what the number. You're right, but based on that, you're right.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I
You
think
can't even touch
Schofield
Shakur.
is actually better than Sarase. He's a better athlete, but he's not seasoned. And Shakur is stealth.
Correct. So if you're going to upset probably the most naturally gifted young prospect out there, that's a major statement.
Right. If Floyd Schofield goes the distance, I would consider that a moral victory. If he can win more than 2 rounds, I consider that a real good moral victory. I don't see how Shakur loses this fight.
Who does he call out after? Shakur.
Oh.
Who's the
Hopefully
potential matchup?
Tank.
Oh, God, that would be awesome.
That I don't think it's going to happen, but that's who he calls out. Here's one from Ignacio Ortiz. Does Arnold Barboza get a shot at Teo for that belt, or does Teo vacate it? And what do you guys think of the Farmer versus Zepeda rematch in Cancun?
Well, to answer the first question, I think Teo faces him now. I do, because I think he has the
Because he has
belt.
to.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. He can vacate, right? But I think because he has the belt, now there's stakes, right? And he wants these big fights. So I actually think he does face him, or I'm hoping that manifests. And the rematch of Farmer Zepeda in Cancun, is it the location that he's concerned about, or the rematch itself?
Well, I know that Nick Van Exel likes it in Cancun, but let me just say this. As someone that is a big advocate, no one can say I'm anti-William Zepeda, right?
We're big fans.
Okay. Oscar De La Hoya last summer, in an interview that I did after Zepeda blew out Cabrera, said, we're number 1 in all 4 sanctioning bodies. We're going for a title shot next. Oh, wow, man, look at Oscar. So you take on Tevin Farmer, and I get it. That's good experience. Now get southpaw, get ready for Shakur, maybe even a Tank. Why are we doing this again?
Maybe it was a little closer. They want a little bit. They want a little bit more. They want to be really prepared and have a bit more of a definitive victory, perhaps, before facing someone like that. Get that momentum and buzz back.
Yes, but do you remember?
Or you risk it too.
Do you remember Caddyshack 2 without Bill Murray?
No, I never saw Caddyshack 2. Is there Caddyshack 2?
Yeah, remember Meatballs 2 without Bill Murray?
Was there Meatballs 2?
Yeah, I think those sequels are about as unnecessary as this one. I don't get it. You're number 1 in all 4 sanctioning bodies. The guy has over 30 fights. He's in his late 20s.
I agree with you. I think you take advantage. The only thing I can see how they're justifying it is to have maybe more of a convincing victory and to have him a little bit more prepared. Before. That's the only reason I can.
To go back to your question, if I'm Shakur Stevenson, I face Schofield. I win that fight. I look right into the camera. Oscar, I want to see you in Cancun, and then we're going to get it on next. Okay?
Yes.
Is that fair?
That is fair.
All right, here's one from the Dark Prince. 2-part question. A, what is your definition of cherry picking in boxing? And was De La Hoya Pacquiao a cherry pick?
No. Well, why would it be? No, that's ridiculous. No.
You don't think so?
How so?
You facing a guy that you were a 154-pounder, and he had just fought Diaz from Chicago at 35.
Yes.
People were calling that a physical mismatch.
Correct. But you're also going down to a weight you haven't been to.
Because that was at 47.
47 in a long time. So you're killing yourself. And history has shown that never bodes well. And then you're coming up against a guy, I don't care how small he is, was a physical phenom that was peaking in all his powers. So I think it kind of almost evened out in that sense. You had an older Oscar who hadn't fought at that weight in a long time. You had a young guy in his prime who was just a menace and a force.
But did you, all right, transport yourself
No,
to
I
the
remember,
fall of 2008. Did
thought,
you really give Manny any shot?
I thought he would be competitive, but I thought Oscar's length in reach
Size.
would be a little bit too much.
Well, I don't
Would be
want to pat myself on the back. As
I know you called it. But and then because I remember all the Ivan Calderon comparisons and all that.
You know where Oscar did look aged, and they thought they were going to do the Mayweather rematch. Remember, they had a year to do it, and
Right.
Mayweather quote unquote retired.
Right.
I remember
That's
halfway
right.
through the Steve Forbes fight, I said,
That
"Ooh,
Steve Forbes fight, right.
Oscar
That was here in LA.
has
That was here in
went
LA.
backwards. He's gone backwards physically." That was actually at the soccer stadium
at
of StubHub.
StubHub.
So here's my view of it. I think it was a bit of a cherry pick, and it was for a specific reason. Remember that briefcase full of cash at the steakhouse that
Yes.
De La Hoya gave Manny to smuggle him away from Top Rank? Well, Manny ended up giving the money back, went with Bob Arum. So that caused a real friction.
Yeah, but he gave him that money for a reason because he saw something special in there. That kid was a star too.
Oh, I'm just saying, stating the facts.
Oscar made a good point. Oscar made a good. Go ahead, finish
And
your point.
then,
And I'll say it.
and then that was the throes of what I called the Cold War between Top Rank and Golden Boy. Those two companies were not seeing eye to eye.
Right.
When Kelly Pavlik got beat by Bernard Hopkins in Atlantic City, I'll never forget. I'm at the press conference. I mean, the Top Rank staff was stunned what a blowout it was.
Yeah.
And Bernard Hopkins, as only he could, he said, "Come December 6th, Bob Arum ain't going to have breath left in his body." So the inference was we are going to absolutely put Top Rank and Manny Pacquiao out of business. That's the reason why they made that fight.
But I think they knew that kid was special. Oscar and his clapback this past weekend did make a solid point. When Oscar fought guys that were on the rise, he made them stars.
He did.
When
Floyd
he fought
Mayweather.
Pacquiao, made him a star.
Floyd
When he
Mayweather.
fought Mayweather, made him a star.
Right.
Big difference.
I give him credit for that.
You know what I mean? Big difference. When you fought him, that's what catapulted him. Say what you want, but that's the truth.
Mario, did you know in the first minute when Pacquiao's landing like the left hand, just, oh, this is over? You can
Yes.
tell in the first minute.
I looked over at Jim Lampley, I remember, and I go, "Oh no!" And that was it. And he just looked, he just looked on, and Oscar looked drained, and the whole. Not to take anything away from Manny because he was incredible that night.
We've talked about this, but at the weigh-in, when Oscar was in a chair slumped over,
Yeah.
I said, uh-oh, that was a huge... when they made
Whenever
that...
you go back down, how many times have we
at
seen
that
this?
age.
Anytime. When have we seen it work?
Roy Jones...
Exactly.
Made a terrible... Chris Bird...
Chris Bird. What's his name? Dawson. Chad Dawson.
Chad Dawson against...
Just any examples. You know what I mean? That's just it never bodes well.
Here's one from our guy, the only Sanch. Ask that Jazzercise spokesperson, Mario Lopez.
I like that fool.
Is at Champagne Nuts Michael Thompson, the great Michael Thompson, father of Clay, L.A. Laker legend.
Is that his champagne nuts?
Is he not A-list enough for him to take him up on a Phil Trainee's dinner invite?
I'm down to do a Phil Trainee's dinner invite,
on a
but I
Friday.
can't. But I can't go during the week.
We'll
you
do
guys
it.
are crazy during the week.
Yeah.
I get up too early, so
Yeah.
during the week, you know me, I gotta have a couple cocktails.
Yeah,
and stuff.
me too.
When it's a Friday or Saturday, I'm down.
Yeah.
You can't be hitting that up on a Tuesday.
Yeah, we're
Expect me
gonna
to roll through.
We're gonna have to do it on a Friday during the off season. Our next Phil Trainee's dinner is actually on a Wednesday night when the Lakers are not
Yeah,
playing.
see, I can't
You
roll,
can't
dude.
do that.
I can't roll that.
That's
I
a
can't.
good drive for you. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, when are you going to Japan for a big fight to see Inoue?
I would love to go to Japan. I haven't been to the land of the rising sun. That would probably most likely have to be like over the summer if you fight over the summer. But yeah, I'm down.
There's a few bucket list items for me in boxing in terms of where to see a fight. We got Saudi Arabia checked off. Japan and England for a truly big fight.
England
are on the list.
Yes, England for sure. For sure. We can't clap in Japan though. We got
No. That's a little bit of a stereotype.
Is it really?
They do. If you watch
Do they do
Inoue
now?
fights, people get into it.
Do they?
Yes.
Or is it like a polite
No.
clap?
They
hot,
actually get into
Because I
it.
remember Tyson,
Well,
Douglas, they would, ooh, that's what you heard. There was no
but that's
clapping.
because I think people were stunned that Godzilla was getting slayed, though.
No, but they don't generally, they're not hooping and hollering over there.
and
I
also, that was
respect
I think that was in an afternoon. Remember the time difference.
You
So-
can't clap in the afternoon?
Well, they were just waking up from all the sake, whatever. Final question from Ryan Longer. A little NBA action here. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of Los Angeles Lakers basketball players?
My personal Mount Rushmore of LA Lakers, Kareem, Magic, Shaq, and Kobe. My personal.
Okay, Magic is easy. Kobe is easy.
Kareem's not easy. Kareem's not easy. Kareem might be the best player of all time. Kareem, you could argue with Jordan. I'm disappointed in you, Kim.
No, I would have Kareem in my. But remember, first part of his career, he was not a Laker. He was a Buck. Do you ever heard of a guy by the nickname, the Logo? Jerry West.
Of course, I love
Elgin Baylor.
He's my strong.
Elgin Baylor.
5 and 6.
Okay, there's
5 and
another
6.
guy. I'm not the hugest fan of his, but I know the contributions he made to our city. The Big Shaq Diesel.
I said Shaq, fool.
Right. So that I'm just saying, in terms of my.
You're not putting Kareem there.
I would.
Discredits your whole thing.
Magic, Kobe, Kareem, and that fourth.
And Shaq. You have the same list as I do.
No, Jerry West.
Over Shaq?
Career Laker. And what about his contributions as a general manager? That
now
doesn't
you're getting
matter.
into a different thing.
No, but
now
that's part of it.
You said no, it's not part of it. You said as a player, as a Lakers, just as a player. If you're going overall,
and the toughest guy for me to leave off my
Big Game James.
Big Game. Oh,
I love him.
I couldn't believe when
I love
Whitlock
him too.
Just like
those are my four. Those are my four though.
Final flurries.
Final flurries. Friday night. We're doing comedy after dark.
We're doing comedy, baby.
After dark.
Way Out Loud
What are
2. In case you're not familiar, remember Russell Simmons?
Yeah.
Used to put on
Def Jam Comedy
Jam. And he had that program going for a while, so I'm trying to do the same thing and trying to break out a lot of Latino comics out there, too. I mean, the comedy's universal, too, and it's a lot of fun. And I partner with Laugh Factory, and we're going this Friday. I think some tickets are still available, too. Way Out Loud. We have the 10 p.m. show, so it's going to get naughty. My boy Concrete is hosting. And I'll be there just to sort of introduce and close it out. We're going to have drinks and foods and
I might even do a
music.
set. I might even go up there.
You might even go up there, Kim. Hey, we'll get you a
so
couple cocktails. We'll get out
a rabbi
too.
and a priest go up there. Anyway,
God.
why did the chicken cross
I'll
the
have
road?
tomatoes. I'll have tomatoes. I'll have tomatoes right there. But yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. So, we're doing this show, and then we got another big one coming up in Long Beach down there, and then we're hoping to take it on tour. So Way Out Loud, Laugh Factory, 10 p.m., hit it up. Come check it out and give us a hey.
It's going to be a
You're
good time.
Be there.
Absolutely. Then Saturday.
Tino, Frazier, you guys should come through too.
Yeah.
Don't dick out.
Saturday. Hustler Casino
Hey,
watch
we're going
party.
back. We're going back to
we love
Hustler.
That place is fun.
You know what I like about it too? I like when we see the cards there Saudi style because I like day drinking, preferred. Because I got the father-daughter dance at night.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to pace myself. And we're going to be there watching all the fights. And it's always a good time. They treat us real well.
Yeah, we're going to have some stuff for people to sign, take pictures. We love to meet the public. And Sean and Joseph, they do a great job. They do a great job hosting us. A lot of fun out there. And yes, we will be watching all of the fights. Mario, I heard you owe me one. What's going on?
Well, I don't necessarily owe you one,
okay.
but I'm an honest individual.
Are you?
And
Really?
I will.
That's a lie.
Say I'm the most honest. I never lie. That's the thing.
Okay.
I'll say when I'm wrong, and I was wrong. I took your advice and I started watching the OJ thing. Pretty good. Pretty good. I gotta say, I got 2 episodes left, and it's pretty good. It's got me intrigued. I don't know if it's
you owe me one too. Then
I don't know. Well, here's the thing. I don't know if it's because I just love anything nostalgic. Like, if I throw on an old episode of Sopranos, I'm like, damn, that's good.
Yeah.
Because I've already seen it. But so I don't know if it's just a nostalgia factor, but I do appreciate revisiting it from yet another perspective, and they're actually learned some stuff. And I can't believe all the evidence that wasn't admitted. And it makes you think, man, how did they blow this? How did they blow this back in the day?
If that prosecution, if that trial was a Super Bowl, it's 28-3 Falcons.
Yeah.
And they lost. They
lost,
really did. Now,
man.
did you get your wife into it? Did you talk her into it?
Okay, we're watching. So we got 2 episodes to go. We're going back and forth from that, and you haven't watched Scamanda, huh?
I will, though.
Did you see the last one, Frazier? I have, yes. Dude.
Oh my gosh, she is the worst
awful-
person ever.
Most awful individual.
Oh, I can't wait to watch this.
She's
Dude,
like as bad as OJ, but in a different way.
Dude, you lie about having cancer just to scam people out of their money, and then you do it through a church, and then you break up a family where that family had a child that really did have cancer. I mean, it just goes different levels of bad. I'm not exaggerating, by the way. Those are all things that are true. And I'm just blown away how the audacity and for how long they got away with it. By the way, that's like one of 3 docs
there's
right
like
now.
3 other new ones of other people who've done similar
All
stuff.
women, too. All women, where they're faking cancer and illness. So
Yeah.
there's some shady women out there. I'm sorry, ladies, but y'all are not having your best look right now.
Mario, this is another thing that makes me feel old. Has this recently been the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live?
Can you believe that? They had the big blowout this past weekend. We've been doing all kinds of stuff on the show because it's NBC. Dude, Cher performed at 78. She's still a 78 out there performing.
So if she could turn back time?
Oh, my God. By the way, her boyfriend is younger than us.
That does
She's
not
out there
surprise
78.
me.
That's
It does
crazy.
not
Good for
surprise
her.
me.
Did you have a favorite cast?
Yes, I would say the Eddie Murphy era. Maury, the first time I ever watched Saturday Night Live was the original cast of Chevy Chase, Belushi, Dan Aykroyd.
Damn, dude, how old
No,
are you, dude?
No, because
Come on, you
No,
ain't
no.
watching that at like 8 years old, Kim.
Channel 5
Fucking liar.
KTLA. Channel 5 KTLA by the mid 80s during the summer months. I'd be able to stay up. So at 11 or 11:30, they used to replay the Saturday Night Lives from 76, 77, 78. So I saw the Coneheads, the Killer Bees, Cheeseburger. I thought that was funny. Chevy Chase was actually the first star.
No, that was a great era. I got to say, just personally, just as a kid growing up, the ones I liked the most were the ones with Chris Farley.
Yes,
was a
Chris
great
Rock was also
area.
part of it.
Chris, yeah.
Just Chilling. Remember Just Chilling?
Dude, there was so many great.
I mean, I haven't watched it in like 25, 30 years because it's really no longer funny. Although Norm Macdonald, he was
great.
unbelievable.
When they had Celebrity Jeopardy and he
Yes.
would do Burt Reynolds.
No.
It was the best. There was some great.
Someone played his
clips.
monologue where he came back to host a show after he was fired. I don't know. That is some of the most cutting commentary.
Yeah.
They had writers booing him because he made this comment about, this show's no longer funny. I mean, Norm Macdonald, God rest his soul.
50
The
years,
irony,
bro.
he was fired for making fun of OJ a lot, too.
Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah. Isn't that ironic? Wow.
And Mario, as we're taping this today, February 17th, you know whose birthday it is?
Whose?
The great Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
MJ. How old is MJ now?
62.
Wow, that's young, bro.
I will say this without hesitation. He's the greatest athlete of my lifetime. Agree or disagree?
I agree. I separate the fighters when you include the word.
Let's say
athlete.
team sports.
Greatest team sport athlete of all time. 100%. Absolutely agree. And the biggest impact in sports outside. By far. And we're able to transition or transcend, sports into pop culture.
I mean, Air Jordans
with their
are
shoes.
still incredibly popular. People
People kill each other.
Literally
kill each other for
still.
their shoes. Yeah, so.
Michael Jordan, I knew early on, I didn't want to admit it as a big Laker, Magic Johnson fan, that he was the best.
Of course he was.
But in 1991, there was this particular play. It was in Game 4 of that series where they beat the Lakers. He stole the ball. He did the kiss the rim dunk. And I knew at that point, not only is this series over, it's time for me to admit it, Michael Jordan is the greatest. You know how great he was that during the Olympics, 1984, so they played an 8-game exhibition against the NBA Players Association. And they had guys like Magic Bird, Isaiah, a lot of all-star. At age 21, he was the best player in every game. And then Bobby Knight said it in an interview after one of their training sessions. He says, I'm just telling you guys right now, this is the greatest player who ever lived. He had not played one game of the NBA, and they said, you got to be crazy. He said, I'm just going to tell you this, guys, right now. There's never been a guy that fundamentally sound with his athleticism that competes the way he does. So 5 years later, obviously, the things are going on with Jordan. Bobby Knight goes on a David Letterman show, and they start talking about what he had said. He goes, David, I'm going to tell you this right now. Nobody has been as good at what their particular field of profession is
As Michael
Jordan is at basketball, and he says it's not even close. So that is our Babe Ruth. I don't think we'll ever see, look, LeBron is good. Kobe was good. There's no Michael Jordan.
No, Michael Jordan.
There's no Michael Jordan.
One of a kind. I agree with you. Absolutely. I was honored to see him play a few times in person.
Oh,
so.
you did? Oh, man.
Yeah. I saw him against the Lakers, too. I saw him in Chicago. I saw him, I took a picture and all that, and he was in a good mood. And I was there, and Roy Williams, and because Roy, when he was with North Carolina,
He was assistant coach back then.
assistant coach back then. He brought the Kansas. He was a coach of Kansas at the time. Brought all the team there to meet him and stuff, and he was cool with everybody right there. But yeah, man, that's one of a kind.
I went to one game where he played at the LA Sports Arena against the Clippers, and look, Clippers were terrible. But on that night, there was a buzz in that arena, and I'll never forget there was a breakaway. So he actually did one of his dunks. and the flash bulbs. I could still see it in my mind, him flying through the air. And that one play, it made the whole night worth it.
Yeah, I know.
Just unbelievable.
Nothing like it.
Anyway, I'm going to be seeing so much of you on Friday and Saturday. I don't know. I'm going
Dude,
to
you're going
stand
to have
it.
overload, dude. You're going to have overload.
Really am.
All right.
All right, well, that's it for this week's edition of the 3 Knockdown Rule. Again, we want to let you know if you want to sponsor our show, email us, info@boxbid.io. On behalf of Mario Lopez, Smoking Tim Frazier, and Tino, this has been the 3 Knockdown Rule brought to you by Hustler Casino.